Hi, and welcome to The Signal. I'm Kate Woods.
I'm Leslie Tatum. We're journalism students at the University of King's College in Halifax, and today we bring you our final audio stories on a special edition of The Signal.
We've got a lot to cover, from basketball stars to fashion-forward cape designers. But we start our show in the drama room of a Halifax high school.
That's where a group of students compete in a sport you might not have heard of, improv, or improvisational theater. They've had a great year, and Dominique Amit caught up with them before they headed off to the Canadian Improv Games.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The drama room at Halifax West is home to the high school's improv team, students from grades 10 through 12. They had a great year. They won the Nova Scotia Regional Tournament and earned a spot at the Canadian Improv Games. Maya McCann is the team captain.
This is the first time we'll all be experiencing the national tournament, which is really exciting. And there's lots of cool opportunities for workshops to learn a lot, to learn from other players, so that's why I'm really excited about it.
You look great. Really? Yeah.
Scenes like this one about buying new clothes put the students in situations that are often unpredictable. Their coach, April Cross, sees firsthand how students benefit from improv. She says that it gives them a space to grow.
I think high school students think, and teenagers in general, think inside their own heads a lot. They're worried about what other people think or feel. So improv is this free and open experience where they get to express who they are and their thoughts and their feelings in a safe and positive way.
I guess I'll just text my mom and tell her I'm ready to go. It was great seeing you.
You too.
A team from the school came in third place a few years ago. This year's team is hoping to do just as well, if not better.
Yeah!
For The Signal, I'm Dominique Amit.
And Dominique's here in the studio. Dominique, so since you reported that story, they did go to the National Improv Games. And they just finished yesterday. How did the team do?
Well, they didn't do as well as they'd hoped, but they did come in 13th place overall.
Did they get to anything fun?
Yeah, they got to take a trip to Parliament and visited with their MP, Jeff Regan. So
That's really cool. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, you're welcome.
With the end of the school year, university sports leagues are handing out awards. Nick Frew won a trophy last weekend for his time playing basketball here at King's. We'll tell you more in a moment, but first, Olivia Malley reports on how his personal basketball story required a few pivots and changes to his original plans. Olivia Malley has more.
These sounds have been following Frew for years. He started playing basketball when he was 6 years old. As he grew up, Frew dreamed of playing professionally, and he did get 2 offers from universities in the States. But something he was born with stood in his way.
My knee condition is called a osteochondroma defect. It's a genetic disorder that a very small percentage of the population has.
A CT scan for an injured knee showed his other knee had problems too. His condition and the additional surgery it needed were part of why he decided to stay in Canada and come to King's. But he still wanted to play basketball. Despite doctors' warnings, it wasn't a good idea.
I always wanted to play college basketball. I knew I wasn't going to play pro, but I knew I'd be going to school and it would help my social life because I was a shy kid from a small town.
Frew played for 5 years with King's. In his 3rd year, Frew won an award for being the example of a student athlete. Neil Hooper is King's athletic director. He never doubted Frew would be able to bounce back from his surgery.
Nick was so determined and has a love of the game that he wasn't going to let anything keep him from playing a sport that he loved.
After his years of elite training, Frew is not looking into rec ball. Instead, he wants to get back into baseball or softball after graduation. Sports he loved when he was younger, but had to play less of because of basketball. For The Signal, I'm Olivia Malley.
And Olivia is here in the studio with a bit more about Nick. He won a big award last weekend. Olivia, can you tell me more about it?
Yeah. Hi, Leslie. So last Saturday was the 19th annual athletic banquet for Kings, and Nick Frew took home the Coaches Award.
And what's the Coaches Award?
The Coaches Award, his coach said, was given to him because he's MVP on and off the court. He's a great leader, and he's really easy to work with.
All right. Thank you.
Not a problem.
You're listening to a special edition of The Signal. We're coming to you from the University of King's College School of Journalism in Halifax, Nova Scotia. It's hard to find space for a part-time business when you already have a full-time job and a growing family. One couple in Halifax is making it happen with a combination of determination, focus, and teamwork. Travis Davenport has their story.
Cindy McNeil and Robbie McGee operate Michelle Robber Fashion, and they do it on top of running a flooring company and raising 3 kids. It's a lot of work, but Robbie says it's also fun.
You may not know what's special about you yet, but you have to find something. You have to pick a target to move forward. As long as you know that there's something special about you.
Michelle and Robbie design and sell fashion capes for men, women, and children. In order to keep up with their busy lives, the couple hold themselves to strict deadlines, allowing 2 days a week to work on their capes.
We're constantly working on our schedule of making things, this day we do marketing, this day we do social media, this day, so we always have this schedule so something doesn't get left behind.
Tonight, family dinner is about to end, but for Cindy and Robbie, their night has just begun. The dishes are cleared as Cindy and Robbie prepare their rolls for new designs they are working on.
It seems like lately he does a lot of the men's styles and I do a lot of the women's styles. He sometimes will sketch them and then I'll make them real, or I'll sketch them and make them real.
Cooperation is important for these two, as they rely on each other's abilities to smoothly run the business.
Me and Cindy are kind of like yin and yang, so most of the time when she's down, I can kind of bring her up, or when I'm down, she'll try and bring me up.
Or a bathing suit.
Or a bathing suit. Whatever people are wearing these days.
Yeah.
Cindy and Robbie agree that in order to run a business as a couple, knowing each other's roles and believing in their abilities is the first step to success. For The Signal, I'm Travis Davenport.
When Beth Ardron got tired of going shopping and not finding what she wanted, she took matters into her own hands. 8 years ago, she created Poison Pear. It's a clothing company that lets her do and make what she loves. Leslie has that story.
There are hundreds of people in Halifax that own their own business, and Beth Ardron is one of them. She owns a local screen-printed clothing company where she makes dresses, tops, leggings, and even baby clothes. But making the clothing isn't all that she does. She even tackles her own marketing and bookkeeping.
You just can't afford to hire someone to do stuff like that, so you just learn how to do it yourself. And over the years, you just get better at it.
Ryan Robichaud advises people like Ardron almost every day. He is the loan and development officer at a local entrepreneur agency called Seed. He says it takes determination to take on such a responsibility.
A lot of the times, if you're a startup business, you don't have the finances to hire extra staff. So many small businesses, especially in Nova Scotia where there's a lot of rural communities, your business, you're a party of one.
Ardron chooses to remain a party of one, as she describes herself as a bit of a control freak. In the past, she has hired people on the side, but found that she was more efficient by herself.
It's fun, and I don't know, I get to exercise my creative muscles, and at the same time, weirdly enough, I really like repetitive things. So the production aspect of it, I actually really enjoy it as well.
Ardron hopes for an expansion, but for now, she'll continue to sell at the Halifax market, online, and a dozen other retailers around the country. However, this one-woman show will have to come to an end when her expansion begins. For The Signal, I'm Leslie Tatum.
Not so long ago, almost every home had a sewing machine. Sewing was a life skill, not a hobby. Now, most people don't know how to sew. But a small shop in Halifax is inspiring a new generation to thread their needles. Abigail Trevino has more.
There's a cozy, colorful little shop in the north end of Halifax where the sing of sewing machines fills the air. Welcome to Patch, a fabric and quilting supply store owned and operated by Chris Pasquet. Pasquet opened Patch almost 5 years ago, mainly to sell fabric. She quickly realized that classes and workshops were going to be a key part of her business.
It's funny now to think that they were actually an afterthought because the classes have become such a huge part of what we do at Patch.
The brightly colored fabrics drew customers, but many said they didn't know where to start when it came to using them. So she started offering workshops. Almost 5 years later, multiple classes are taught each week, some which regularly sell out. As returning regulars advance, more challenging classes are added. Some who started out sewing simple pillowcases are now taking part in the popular new Sew Your Own Bra class. Pasquet stocks her store with her regulars in mind.
Oftentimes when I'm buying fabric, like when I'm selecting it for the store, I'll be like, so-and-so will love this.
Karen Schneer describes herself as a newbie at Patch. She's quickly become one of the regulars.
It certainly has become my happy place. It's fun, you meet all kinds of people, there's all kinds of positive energy going on, and you can bring your dog.
It may be a business, but to Pasquet, her shop is also a community. One of her regular sewers lost her best friend in the airline tragedy in Ethiopia.
She came here a lot afterwards because it just felt like a safe place. It wasn't sitting home alone. She was able to sort of busy her mind with working on stuff and just be surrounded by people. And that made me feel really nice.
For The Signal, I'm Abigail Trevino.
Filmmaking is an important industry in Nova Scotia. It takes time and practice. At the Atlantic Filmmakers Co-op, students are working on their production techniques.
They get a chance to experiment with a mix of digital footage and old school effects. Jacob Postlewaite dropped in on a class.
The whirring of projectors can be heard at the Atlantic Filmmakers Co-op, or AFCOOP, where students are working to bring the old and the new together. AFCOOP works to support the production and presentation of independent film in Atlantic Canada. AFCOOP's Live Projections is a 3-month program that is teaching students hands-on analog and digital projection techniques. Each week, the students learn about a different part of projection. The program is aimed at emerging artists who are in the early stages of their careers. One class is focusing on combining video mixer and overhead projectors by using physical materials and projecting live. Elise Moyer is a local visual artist and is leading the class.
From tonight's class, just kind of, I want them to get a sense for what different effects that they could combine with visual art. So kind of having the opportunity to combine drawing and analog techniques rather than just working from a computer.
Sarah Greenwood is one of the students. Greenwood is a musician who got into filmmaking as a way to add a visual aspect to her performance.
I guess I've always been interested in using multiple medias together, so this program gives me the opportunity to learn some new skills, but I find it really kind of interesting. There's so much that I didn't know, I guess.
The workshops will be running until the end of April. Then students will work with a local media artist who will help them complete a final project. The finished projects will be on display at a contemporary music and sound convention. For The Signal, I'm Jacob Postlewaite.
Our final story is about a man who makes use of the things others have thrown away. All kinds of things, from old belts to sofas. And as Ellery Platts found out, he is also rebuilding his life.
Dan Kennedy is a leatherworker, piecing things together one scrap at a time. He finds his materials in a low-end thrift store or even on the side of the road.
There's been so many times where I carry a small knife in my pocket for situations like this and someone will throw out a leather coat.
This is the best way he's found to obtain materials on a budget. Once he has his leather, he'll cut it out, hammer in holes, and hand-stitch it together. This creates bags, jackets, and bracelets which he'll sell online for anywhere from $10 to $200. Kennedy had a rough childhood. He's been on his own since he was 17, and he lives off of his leatherwork. Some months with $300, others with much less.
I had no money. I was living off of like $20 a month. And the only thing that was keeping me alive was my leatherwork. I live in a basement at the moment. Kind of dank and dark, but it's within my budget.
Jacob Green owns the basement, and he's become very close friends with Kennedy over the past few months.
I think that he's had a hard go in life, and he's been able to translate that hard go in life into a real care for the people around him. He's doing quite well doing that, I think.
Kennedy doesn't talk about long-term plans, but for now, he says this is the best place that he's been, somewhere safe to focus on his work. For The Signal, I'm Ellery Platts.
And that's all for this edition of The Signal. And it's also the end of our 3rd year journalism course.
We'll be back in the fall with new editions for The Signal. You can find more from the King's School of Journalism on our website, signalhfx.ca. And our newsroom will be back at full strength in the fall.
I'm Leslie Tatum.
And I'm Kate Woods. Thanks for listening.
And have a great summer.